Hello everyone, welcome to Novel and Story Writing 101 Week 2. And just set this up properly and we can start. Just covering up the lens a little bit. There we go. And I'm just going to share this out, so give me 1 second. I'm going to disappear for just a little bit. I'll be right back. Let's see. Where did it go? Oh, there it is. Okay. It was hiding from me. I was like, I know I saw this button just a minute ago. All right. 1 second, guys. I'll be right back. Hope you guys are doing well. We're going to have a good class today. I can feel it. It's going to be a good class for sure. Send that out. Copy. Hi, TT. It's so good to see you. Welcome to the live. All right. I'll be right back, guys. Hold on 1 second. All right, I am back. Hello, everyone. Happy hump day. Happy Wednesday. Hopefully you guys are having a good middle of the week. Everything has been going well. All of the discussions have been responded to in the Discord, and I was going to say I'm so proud of you guys. You guys have shared, like really important and intimate moments of how you started writing and what your journey has been like for your writing. And I just want to say I'm so proud of you guys for sharing that and just loving how you guys are introducing yourselves to writing and getting back into it if you haven't been doing it for a while. I'm just so proud of all of you guys. It just makes me so happy that I started the community so you guys could find a place of like-minded individuals where you can get inspiration and motivation and learn from each other. Like I said, not just from me, because I feel like the best community isn't just like one person teaching you or one person giving you information. It's a place where you can learn and grow with each other as well. And I think this is definitely a great community that, we've initiated, and it's still growing too. So I'm so happy and proud of you guys in there. So week 2 is also up. So is the replay from Sunday. I'm sorry it took me a bit to get back on there because my day job was a little busy the last couple of days, but it is up there for you guys to rewatch. Sunday's replay was really good. Definitely watch it because we went over how to use AI to help you with the assignments when you get stuck. I showed you guys how to utilize it to give you examples so you can use those examples to then create your own responses. So then again, it's not doing the assignment for you, but it's creating examples that you can kind of learn from and grow from to help you. So hopefully that will help you guys with your journey and things like that for sure. So you won't be able to talk much. You're working and sneaking in. Oh, okay. No worries, TT. I don't want to get you in trouble at all. So thanks for just coming in and saying hi and liking the live. Thank you for all of you guys for liking the lives. I appreciate it. And thank you, Bye, for the gift. I appreciate it. And thank you for the follow, Not Your Daddy. I appreciate it. So today we're going to continue. We're in week 2 of Novel and Story Writing 101. Those of you who are new, you're still welcome to be a part of this amazing community. I was going to do a cutoff date, but I realized, since I'm not giving you guys an actual date or actual grade, it's really okay if you come in a bit late to the actual process because, yes, you won't get as full of an experience if you come in the beginning and get the information in the beginning. You can still watch the replays, still be a part of it, but you can still, learn a good amount of information because we're not fully in it yet. This is an 8-week session, so you're going to learn from me every Sunday and Wednesday and get a lot of good information. So even if you don't actually participate in the Discord, I think you can still gain a lot of information from just being here on the lives, being here in the interactive processes, and even going through and reading other people's discussion posts and learning from what they're growing from and what they're doing for their own personal writing growth experiences. I know for me as an educator, I've learned from my students reading their experiences and reading their responses and things like that. So you're not really too late to the party. So if you guys still want to be a part of it, you can definitely join. You can click the link in my bio. It's the first link. It'll say the Storyteller's Tea Room, and you're more than welcome to be a part of it and come in for sure. Hi, AJ. I'm not AJ, AZ. Sorry, I just saw that. AZ. Or is it as? My pronouns, I'm she, her. Those are my pronouns, she and her. I identify as she, her. So thanks for asking, though. I appreciate that. Let me know if you're going to ask questions. Let me know what pronouns you identify as well, and make sure I respect your pronouns too. So I appreciate that. So I need to start doing that. I've noticed a lot more people in the educator space are putting that in their signature line and stuff like that, and also their Zooms, so people can know how to identify them as well. So that's kind of cool to note, so that way you're being respectful of the other person and things like that. So thank you for asking that. I appreciate that. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started on today's lesson. And at first, before we do that, I'm going to go over what the discussion post is for this week and the assignments. So that way you guys can see what you need to do for this week and what you need to submit, so you can be ready for it and be like all prepared for everything you need to do. So I'm going to pull that up really quickly, and we're going to go over week 2. And I'll break it down so you guys can see how you can utilize it. Like I said, how you can utilize AI to help you with these assignments if you get stuck. A lot of times when we do assignments, like as an educator, sometimes my students will go to AI and try to have AI do the assignment for them. And I try to let them know, like, yeah, I mean, you can. That's a problem, though. AI is not going to always be perfect with doing things for you. It's not going to be perfect at writing things for you because it's not you. So even if you had it create a sound and you're like, oh, this is kind of cool, it looks like it's whole, there's always going to be something amiss or something wrong with it if you have it do it for you. So this is why, as a writer, I don't recommend using it for writing, but I recommend using it as a back-end tool to help you with your author business, to help you with concepts. If you get stuck, it can be a great tool to dispel writer's block, which I showed on Sunday how it can help with that too. So using it as a tool, I think, can be really beneficial to us as creatives and as business owners, because it's there to help us with the process so we get back to doing our writing and have more tools and a more idea bank to pull from, right? Because a lot of times when we have writer's block, it's because we're stuck in a certain scene or in a certain point of our writing and we don't know how to move forward, right? That's pretty much what writer's block is. You're just stuck in that moment. And so this is why I always recommend writing out of order, because if you're stuck in that moment, writing another moment or another scene can really help you and help you connect with things. So thank you guys for the gifts. I appreciate it. You guys are awesome. So just note, that's why I always use AI if I get stuck, or help me with business things on the back end, help me come up with content ideas, help me come up with like location ideas and things to help. That can be really helpful if you use it in a way that's going to progress your own creativity, not stifle it. Because I think a lot of times we see it as a thing that can just do everything for us. But when you're creative, you want to write, you want to create things, because that's what we do. That's what we do best. So I want you guys to keep doing what you do best, but know that that resource is there for you on the back end. If you ever get stuck or you need a little push or a little nudge or a little bit of inspiration, that can definitely help for sure. Hey, SW, do I help with formatting the ebook? I can definitely help. I normally don't offer it as a service, but I can also recommend tools you can use to help with formatting your ebook too. I use a tool called Atticus. Atticus. It's not super expensive, but it is a little bit of an investment. I think last time I checked, it was about $100 or something. But the thing with that one is, once you buy it once, you don't have to keep paying for formatting. It helps you with ebook formatting and print book formatting. So I highly recommend it. I use it myself. It helped me publish my last book. And I think it's a great tool for both print and ebook publishing. So I recommend checking into that. Again, it's called Atticus, Atticus. It's also by the same creators of Publisher Rocket, which, if those of you who've been on here before know I use Publisher Rocket. That can also help you do research and market research for your industries and your keywords and things like that. So when you're ready to publish, you have all the information you need. That's what you're stuck on? Okay, yeah. Check out Atticus, because there's also another one called, what is the other one? Hold on. I always get stuck on some of these things because since I don't use it, I always forget what it's called. Vellum. Vellum. Now, I will tell you, that is more expensive on the higher end. Atticus is a bit more affordable. Vellum also is only if you have a MacBook or an Apple computer. So it only works on Vellum only works on MacBook computers, where Atticus will work on any computer. Whether you have a Mac, whether you have a PC, or whether you want to do it on your tablet, on your phone, it's transferable because of the fact that it's online. So I recommend looking into those two to see if you can help. Also, you can also find cheap formatters on Fiverr, Fiverr. So Fiverr with 2 R's. They have reasonable prices where they can help you with, formatting, again, ebooks, formatting your print books, and also they can help you format your audiobooks too. So they have ebook, audiobook, and print book formatters on Fiverr for at a reasonable cost. So just look into those 3 resources and see if that can help. If you still need help, I'm here to help you. So just message me. I can see what I can do. If you need to format a certain book or a certain series, just let me know. But I would recommend that you invest in something that you can just invest in once. So you don't have to keep spending money on formatting for multiple books, because that way, once you buy it, you always have it, and you don't have to keep asking people to, to do it for you and spend more money than you don't have to. And then it's also investing in your business. So next year, when you file your taxes, you can use it as a business write-off too. So that's something to recommend for sure. Thank you, Tina. I appreciate you. Thank you for tapping the screen. I appreciate you guys for sure. And thank you for following. Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. You publish through Amazon. Okay, yeah. Then I definitely recommend Atticus. That's where I publish too. I publish most of my content on Amazon. I also publish on Kobo and Barnes & Noble, but Amazon is where I publish, especially when I do Kindle Unlimited, because when you're in Kindle Unlimited, you only can publish on Amazon when it comes to your ebooks. So yeah, I definitely recommend looking into Atticus first, and then the other ones second and third if you want to have someone do it for you. Or if you can afford Vellum, you can go for it too. A lot of authors invest in Vellum, but the ones who don't invest in Vellum do get Atticus too. So Atticus is definitely on the more affordable side of the spectrum, so for sure. So thank you guys for tapping the screen. Thank you for liking. I appreciate you guys. And thank you for the gifts. You guys are amazing as always. All right, so let's go over this week's assignment and discussion post so you guys can know what is expected of you in the Discord this week. I gave you guys an extra day because I posted a bit late, so I wanted to give you guys extra time to get it in. If you don't get a chance to do it this week, you can work on it this weekend. You have more time to get your assignments and work in, so that way you kind of are a little bit more flexible on when you submit it. You can still submit it Sunday, but I don't mind if you guys submit it on Monday night as well. So I give you guys an extra day for that too. All right, so let's go over what you guys need to do. And what we'll do is I'm going to show you the same thing we did last week, how you can utilize ChatGPT or AI to kind of help you kind of get ideas for how to do these assignments. Because a lot of times when we see things like assignment instructions or this is what you need to do, it also can be a little bit kind of hindrance to our creativity, right? I know sometimes when I was in creative writing classes, like they tell you, write this, or do this kind of assignment. And you're being put kind of like in a box a little bit when you're being asked to do something on the spot, right? So that can kind of feel like, oh my gosh, well, if I have to do that on the spot, I can't really be as creative as I want to. But just because you're being told certain kind of parameters for your writing doesn't mean you can't be creative in how you do the writing or how you create the writing. So I'm going to show you guys how you can do that and use AI to kind of help you understand how you can use those parameters a little bit differently and more efficiently so you guys don't feel stuck and things like that. You just finished school, you're so excited. Oh, awesome, Eternal, that's so cool. I'm so proud of you. That's so cool. Oh my gosh, that deserves a cheer. Where are you submitting again? So just don't forget, you're not submitting the assignment at all. The assignment's going to be self-reflectory so you can actually learn from what you did. And that's what we're going to talk about too. Those of you who submitted who did your complete assignment last week, we're going to talk about it a little bit. So if you guys have questions about it, so you can self-reflect on what you did and what you created, we're going to talk about that today too. But the only thing you're submitting is a discussion post in the actual Discord. That is going to be self-reflecting on the thing that you did this week. All right. And it's going to be going a little bit focused on what the topic is. So last week was the intro post. So you can think about what inspires you to write, what inspires you to actually create content and create stories. This is the first week we're going into actual detailed discussion posting that reflects what the theme of the week is. So this week's theme is going to be focusing on building characters and voice, because as I mentioned before, the heart of any story is going to be your characters. Yes, your worlds are going to be important. Your settings are important. The landscape, all of that is still important, and your world can actually become another character or enhancement of your characterization. But your characters are the core of your story, because that's who readers follow. That's who readers fall in love with. That's who they want to see grow and fail and succeed and, want to follow over the course of the story and the course of the length of the book. Whether it's fiction, nonfiction, or poetry, it's still about characterization. When it's nonfiction, it's normally about you and your experience and your feedback on how to help the person, or giving your memoirs or your biography of your story and giving inspiration to it. When it's fiction, it's the fictional characters that you're writing. And when it's poetry, it's still you, but it's the emotional sides of you, the creative and symbolic sides of you, but it's still your character or personas, if you will, as you're writing your poems. Even if you're writing fictional poems, because we still do fiction and poetry too, we still put characters and fictional, ideals into our poems. It's still about you and characterization. So, answer your question, Discord, discussion post, that's where you're posting. No submission of the assignment, because I want you guys to self-reflect on what you did and use it to enhance each week as we go along. That way it'll help you guys as you're writing, for sure. Let's see, how can you find Discord having trouble located? Yeah, sure. As Ginger Bates mentioned, just click my profile, so click my picture, and then when you get to my profile page, click the first link in my bio. It'll say beacons.ai/my full name, Tamara Artilio Martin. Click on that, open it in an external window. Because if you don't open an external window, I think some people have problems if they do the internet that happens when TikTok opens it. So try to open it in your browser on your phone. Then when you go there, it's the first link there. I should check that too, because every time I do this, sometimes that link will act up. Let me double check and make sure that link works. But it's called the Storytellers Tea Room. That's the Discord that we're on. But let me check it before you do it, because I want to make sure it actually works still, because last week we had an issue with it because they keep doing weird stuff with it. And I want to make sure when I tell you guys to go there, you can actually access the Discord. So let me just check it really quickly. Make sure the link still works. And of course it didn't. Okay, give me 1 minute, guys. Let me reset the link. I don't know why it keeps doing that to me. I'm going to have to ask our resident Discord expert and see if she can help me with that, because I know everyone else is able to create a link that's valid consistently. So let me just change it really quickly before you do it. I don't want to send you over there and it's an invalid link. So let me just do that really quickly. Shouldn't take me too long to do it every week now, because they keep changing it. Set this link to never expire, please. And that's what I asked for before, and it didn't do it. So can we keep this link? Alright, let's see. Okay, now let me go in there. And then once I put it in there, you should be good to go. Let's see. This one. Edit. Let's see. Product files, add link. Actually, edit this link. Alright, you should be good to go. So when you do it, it should have the right link now. I'm glad I think people come out to do this every week, which is sad, because it's should be just one permanent link, but you should be good to go. So again, click the link in my bio, click my profile. It'll be the first link there. It'll take you to my Beacon store, and then the first link there, called the Storytellers Tea Room, will be our Discord, and you should be able to find it. You should be all good to go. I updated the link, so make sure it's the correct link, so it's not invalid. I'm gonna make sure I check that each time of the week, just in case, because I don't want you guys to ever have an invalid link, for sure. And let me know, Sharon, if you can't find it. If you can't find it, come back here. I'll find another way for you to get in, because just in case, I don't want you guys to ever have issues getting in. So let me know. So, okay, cool. Alright, so let's go over the homework, guys, so you guys can know what you're going to be doing. Again, the main assignment, you're not submitting. You're just submitting your discussion reflecting on characterization. Alright? So, for you fiction writers, you're going to complete a character worksheet for your protagonist and antagonist. Now, don't forget, I gave you guys a free character worksheet in the actual Discord. So if you go to resources, you'll see the free character worksheet in there. And you can use the same character worksheet for both your protagonist and your antagonist. So now keep in mind, your antagonist doesn't necessarily have to be a person. It can be a thing or an entity or a magical power or a being. It doesn't necessarily have to be another human-like entity that's opposition to your protagonist. It's really up to you. Or you can have both. You can have both elemental opposition and, an actual villain that's a person or human embodiment of something. That's fine too. But for this week, you're creating a character profile for both your antagonist and your protagonist. So both your hero and your villain, or I should say not just villain, but what's coming against your character. All right. So if you're doing a villain, an actual like human-like creature or entity, they need to have a backstory too, because you need to know your villain as well as you know your hero. Because if you don't know the reasons why your villain is doing the actions they're doing. You need to know their purposes and why they're taking those actions. Because like I said before, no villain is born evil. They became that way because of either society doing things to them, horrible environments they grew up in, people mistreating them, people doing horrible things to them and doing these things to them that made them become villainous. Or maybe they had experienced a tragedy. Maybe they lost both parents or their whole family and someone killed them or did something horrible to the people they loved. That could have made them villainous too. So little things can add to why someone chooses to go evil, if you will, because I like to think that even villains are not necessarily 100% evil. Like there are those who are like so evil you're like, okay, you can't be redeemed. But one thing that I tell you guys, and you'll see that I talk about this, is sometimes the best villains make the ones that you question whether they're redeemable or not, because you're not sure, like, are they good? Are they bad? I don't really know anymore, right? So when you question how someone is whether they're doing things because they're evil or because of other reasons, now you're kind of like deeply involved into that person's, actions and dialogue and their reasoning and their purpose, right? So I want you guys to create villains that people love to hate. That's why we love to hate certain villains. We're like, oh my gosh, I love you so much, but you're so diabolical. You're like an evil genius kind of person, right? We love those characters, even though they're doing bad and evil things, because in a sense, we kind of connect to them a little bit. And it doesn't mean we're evil. It just means that we connect to something about them, or maybe we relate to the things that they went through that got them to where they are, and be like, hey, that happened to me, and I could have gone evil in a second, right? So when you create your villains, don't always think of them as completely 100% evil. Instead, ask yourself, if this person had the right circumstances, could they have been redeemed? Can they still be redeemed, right? That makes your villain layered. That makes your characters layered. Because, again, same thing with the heroes. Heroes are not really meant to be 100% good. They're meant to have flaws. They're meant to have issues. They're meant to have things like jealousy and things like, hatred and all these things. They're not meant to be 100% completely good, right? Because if you create 100% completely good characters, no one's going to really want to follow them, because it's like, you're too perfect. Why do I care about you? Like, everything goes right for you. You see everything in a positive way. You never have any negative emotions. Why should I care about you? So having 100% good character is not going to be good for your reader, because they're not going to want to follow that character because they don't have any flaws. And as humans, we all have flaws, whether, extreme flaws or just minute flaws. There's still flaws in our human existence, right? And we know that if you're going to be human, you have to have some kind of negative attributes. And we may be working on those attributes, but there's still negative attributes that make us human and make us real. So your characters need to be real for your reader too. And how do you make them real? Making sure they're multidimensional. They're not just one-dimensional characters who have all good things happen to them. They're always good all the time. They're always happy all the time. Nothing ever goes wrong in their life. Nobody wants to read that, right? It's kind of like how we see reality television, right? And then may not be how you guys see reality television, but this is how I see reality television, is that the fact that you see all this craziness happening in people's lives, right? And you're like, well, my life is not that bad compared to all this drama that this character's going through, all the craziness they're going through. And we kind of watch it because it's kind of like almost like a train wreck ready to happen, or waiting to happen, if you will. And you're like, oh my gosh, well, you know what? I can't really complain about my life. I'm not having like 5 baby daddies fighting over my kid, or like all this weird stuff that happens in reality TV, and you're like, this is real? This is happening? Now, of course, we all know reality television is kind of staged a bit too. Like, yeah, it's definitely staged. But it's a sense of, we watch these other characters' lives because it kind of makes us understand our life a little bit better. That's what I see the purpose of reality television. And you still have characterization in reality television, although it's kind of like real life. You still have certain roles each character is playing. So I think that can definitely help you guys understand your characters a lot better and understand the roles they play in your writing. So, let's see. Let me go back. I know you guys wrote some stuff. I don't want to miss what you said. Hey, LJ, how are you? Welcome to the live. Let's see. Hi, Chocolate Blue. Thank you for sharing the live. You'll join when you're home from work. No worries, Sharon, for sure. For sure. And let me know if you have any troubles, just message me. I'll be happy to help you with it. Well, discussion part. Yeah, Ginger, so just all you're doing is a discussion part. So you're doing the assignment for yourself. You're doing the discussion to actually post on the deadline. It's usually Sunday nights before midnight, but I extended the deadline this week so I posted a little bit late. So it's not due until Monday night. So yeah, you have time to do the discussion. So what I usually ask you guys to do is do the assignment first, and then when you're done with the assignment, you should be able to answer the discussion a lot better. If you do it in reverse order, it's going to be harder to answer the question, because the discussion question is going to be asking you about your protagonist and things like that, and you won't be able to know that unless you do the first part of the assignment. So do the assignment first, get that done, and then you can move on to the discussion part, and that should be a lot easier to do. I just realized all your channels weren't showing in Discord when you mentioned the resources tools. Ah, okay. Thank you for mentioning that, not a burn. So this is something to mention too. When you guys get in the Discord, thanks for mentioning that too. When you get in, make sure you show all channels, because there are a lot of channels in that Discord. A lot of resources, a lot of different avenues in that Discord. So make sure you're expanding the channels so you can see all of them. And also, just to mention, in the feedback channel, we already have some people posting about things they want help reading and helping to have extra readers for. So you guys are welcome to go in there and give your little reader I was supposed to reader ears, your reader eyes, and help a fellow writer. If you have something you want someone to read over, you can also post your post in there. So there's definitely multiple channels to help you guys along your writing process, not just this class. There are multiple avenues in that Discord to help you on your writing journey, to help you with resources. I'll be adding more resources in the coming weeks to the resource channel. A lot of things in there, and I'm going to make sure that you guys have the things you need, the tools you need to access certain things. I'm also in the process of creating new courses and things to help you in addition to this one, because this is a free class. This is not something you have to pay for. You don't have to pay for the Discord. I wanted you guys to have these free resources because I wanted you to be able to have the things you need to be able to start your writing journey without having to say, hey, I have to invest in this, or I have to buy this course, or do that. I want you to be able to have the free resources you need to take the next step forward you need in your writing. So both of them are free for a reason. I want you to have those so you can jump start your writing for this year, because we're already in February, guys. You can start writing your story now. Don't wait till the end of the year. Don't wait till we get to the end of 2025. Start writing your stories now. Start creating them now. So this is why I'm hoping the course will help initiate that fire inside of you guys so you can start writing and get back to your creativity so you can get your book published this year. And that's what I'm hoping. So that's why this class only focuses on the first chapter, because although we're focusing on the first chapter, you're more than welcome to write more than one chapter, but it's meant to initiate that kind of starting writing momentum to get you going. That's the whole purpose of this class. That way, once you have the momentum, hopefully you'll keep at it. And even after the class is over, we're going to still, be utilizing the Discord and helping you guys along your path. You have questions, you can ask in the Discord. The Discord is meant to be a long-term resource for you to utilize and to help you as a writer. So don't feel like once this course is over, you don't have me anymore. I'm still going to be live most days of the week. I try to go live every day, but I can't go every day now because I'm getting a little bit busier in my day job, but I will be live most days of the week. So even when you can't come Sunday or Wednesday, you can come and hop up on any other live I'm on. Make sure you're on here and you can ask me questions, and you still have me as a resource no matter what. So I wanted you guys to be able to access me when you need them for sure. So just know that I'm here for you guys. I'm here to help you. Great tips. Thanks, Ginger. I appreciate that. You want to read and see some drama. Exactly, Riss, right? That's why we read. That's why we go to the movies. We want to see the drama. We don't go there to see a perfect person have a perfect day and a perfect life. If we did, we would get so bored, we would probably all leave the theater or stop reading the book we're reading. We want to see the chaos. We want to see the craziness, because that's what makes the strongest character. If they don't have any challenges coming at them so they can grow and become better, how are they going to defeat the monster at the end of the story? How are they going to defeat the villain at the end of the story? Or if the villains themselves, because don't forget, villain can be their own self, their own self problems and their own self internal doubt and issues. There are issues that we've seen movies and books where they don't realize they're their own villain until at the end of the story, and you're like, oh my gosh, you were always the bad person, right? a good example of that, and I'm sorry if I'm not trying to give stuff away, but just note that in this class we may give away some things just so you guys can understand storytelling. If you've never seen Fight Club, that is a good example of what I mean by your own worst enemy, right? Because you guys know the ending of Fight Club, it is completely different from what you thought it was the entire time. So I won't give too much spoiling away, but just know that that shows your own worst enemy kind of example. Fight Club is a good example of that. Or your own worst hero, your own best hero too, if you see it that way. You could see it as like he's his own worst enemy, or he becomes the hero of his story too, and how you see it. Depends on how you view it and how you see the ending. So note that your villain doesn't always have to be an opposition outside of the person. It can be their own self as their own villain or their own worst enemy. And if that's the case, then you're going on an internal struggle more so than an external struggle or a fight for power or dominance or a fight for the world or survival. It's more so their own fight with themselves to survive, right? So that can be something to think about too when you guys are doing it. And keep in mind, you can have multiple of these. You don't have to just choose one. Like I said, you don't just have to have an outside villain. They can be their own worst villain too, and they have two villains to fight, the negative, conflicts within themselves and the external villain they have to go and actually go to war with or fight or battle to either save the world or save themselves or save their family, or maybe it's just to, fight the person that's going to stop them from falling in love with the person that they're meant to be with. And romance is not always like a villainous person stopping you from falling in love. It can be like the horrible ex, the horrible in-law or future in-law stopping you from getting married. It can be all these things. It doesn't necessarily have to be an extreme villain, but normally a villain or an antagonist is the opposition to the protagonist. Not necessarily villainous, not necessarily completely evil, just the opposition that's keeping them from reaching their goals and getting to what they need to accomplish and do. So that's something to think about for sure. You're very welcome. For you, Game of Thrones is plenty of evil characters you just fell in love with. I know, right? Let's be honest, like, the twins were horrible characters, and you're like, how are you this horrible? But they made it interesting. You're always like, wow, like, evil, incestuous twins. Like, you never thought, like, I don't think I would ever have come up with that myself. First of all, I wouldn't have thought, like, the incest part, and I wouldn't have thought, like, they're twins, too. Not just, like, brother and sister, they're twins. So now we have another layer that I don't even know. I don't know. But, and the funny thing is, it wasn't just like they were just, like, randomly in a relationship. Like, they were fully in love with each other, ready to, like, off other people for each other. That's the kind of relationship they have. And you're like, kind of relationship goals, but not really, because I don't want to be in that kind of relationship. But you still want someone who would want to fight for you and do anything for you, but just not on that level. So I feel like it's like relationship goals distorted, right? So I think Game of Thrones is definitely a great, and because it's ensemble, it's multiple characters, not just one character, just like Lord of the Rings, right? You have multiple characters that you're focusing on and that you're seeing. Now, here's the thing when you're doing an ensemble. Those of you who are writing ensembles, I know some of you aren't doing that. Be aware that you want to make sure your readers don't get upset at you because you're not focusing on the characters they love the most, right? And you can't really know that until, like, a reader has their own preferences, right? I know for me, when I was watching Game of Thrones, like, I will tell you, I haven't read Game of Thrones. I was trying to read it, and I was like, I don't know if this is for me. But I saw the show, and I was good with the show. There are some books that I realized they're too dense or too much for me. And I know if I read it, it probably would be an interesting read. But I was more of a viewer than I was of a reader for that storyline, right? But here's the thing. Because they're hopping into so many different storylines and so many different arcs, it works. But if you're not careful, it could distract your reader from being like, okay, now we're on the 5th character, now we're on the 6th character. When are we coming back to the character that I want to focus on, right? So sometimes it can be frustrating if someone doesn't feel like they can, like, follow one or two main characters and stay with the people they like to follow throughout the entire book. So just be careful when you're doing your ensembles. 'Cause like I told you guys, even when you're doing your ensembles, you still have a certain main character that's following. Because if you look at the core of Game of Thrones, yes, we have a whole ensemble cast, but the main characters are usually the ones who will end up in the end surviving or thriving, right? Like in that case, Jon Snow. He's like the one that goes through everything, even so many losses in his family and love life and all kinds of craziness, and in the end, he's there, right? So if you look in the arc, if you actually look deep enough at it, you could say it's Jon Snow's story because of the fact that everyone else either dies or thrives, or Tyrion's too, because Tyrion does survive in the end too. But there's multiple people that survive, but I'm looking at Jon Snow because of the fact that we were with him more so than the other characters that survive in the end. We followed him more. If you looked at the scenes and how many scenes were more focused on certain characters, we followed him more so than the other characters that survive in the end. So if you look at that arc, you could say it's essentially his story and his story arc, although it's a whole ensemble cast that we follow. So just be aware of that when you guys do your ensemble writing, because a lot of times we can get lost in the characterization and the different characters, and they take over the story, and then you may forget about who your main characters are. So try to ask yourself, even in the ensemble cast that you're creating, who are the main core characters, right? Because even in Sex and the City, Carrie Bradshaw is the main character. Yes, her friends are there, we follow them, and we see their lives and their romance too, but she's the heart of the story of Sex and the City, right? So that's why I say, even if you have a cast of multiple characters, we're still someone that we're following more closely than the other characters that we want to pay attention to more so than the other characters, because it's mainly their story and it's their friends or family or people that we're following too that's coming along for the ride. But you still have a central core, one or two people that we're following more so than the other people. So that's why I said be careful when you're doing your ensembles, because your ensembles are going to be possibly take you off of course of who your main character is. As long as you know who your main character and central characters are, it won't be hard to write that ensemble cast and making sure you're bringing them back for your reader to fall in love with and stay with. Because it's kind of hard to fall in love with like 12 characters, right? Some of them you'll be like, kind of like you, kind of don't like you. You're okay. I love you. I really, really love you. Like, you have different levels of appreciation for each character. But there's some that you really love, and the other ones are kind of like just here for the ride that you watch and you read because they're interesting, but some you love and some you kind of are just like there, right? So that's why you want to be careful with ensembles, because you want to create characters that your reader loves, because that's what's going to initiate them to fall in love with your writing, fall in love with your characters, and keep reading. If you write too many characters and it's all over the place and they can't really focus on who to follow or who to fall in love with as a reader, it may be hard for them to stay in touch with it. So just keep that in mind for sure. I know I went on a little tangent there, so. Would I be willing to help someone write their book? I used to ghostwrite. I stopped just because I wanted to focus more on my own writing. But I mean, I can recommend you on how you can find your own ghostwriters for sure. I don't ghostwrite anymore just because of the fact that I was like, I'm ghostwriting for all these people. I'm like, I could be writing my own stories. And not that I was wanting to take anyone else's story or anything, because it was never that point. I was like, oh, this is a cool story. I wish I could write something like this. It was more so I have so many ideas that I want to write. I could be writing them myself, right? So I feel like as a ghostwriter, it was kind of like taking away time from my own writing schedule. So I don't write anymore, apologetically. But I can definitely help you guys on the path of finding your ghostwriter and finding someone who can write for you. And because when you're finding your ghostwriter, the main thing you have to make sure of is that they're able to write in your voice or the storytelling voice that you want to keep consistent. Because if you're hiring a ghostwriter, one thing to be certain of, you got to make sure if you're going to write a series or something longer, that they're going to be there for you long term too. Because if you shift voices all of a sudden, readers are going to feel that and understand that and be like, oh my gosh, why does this sound different? Why does this story flow different? And they may not know it's because you have a different ghostwriter, because they don't know, because ghostwriters are meant to be invisible. But they can sense something is off in the tone and the writing style and the structure. So you want to make sure when you guys hire a ghostwriter, try to ask them, hey, I have a series in mind. Are you available longer term? Are you planning on doing this for the next year or so, or a couple of years, so I can know that you're going to be there? And that's another reason why I don't ghostwrite, because I can't guarantee that I'll be there for you after one book, right? And you want to kind of be consistent with the same ghostwriter you have so they can keep the same tone of voice and things like that. So I recommend that for sure. Let's see. Yes, it was awesome. Thank you guys for the follows. And he was a true king. That's true, right? He was a true king. Jon Snow was a true king. So I mean, it ended up being exactly what it was, which I think is really interesting. How they wrapped up the Game of Thrones series, and George R.R. Martin still hasn't wrapped up the actual book series. They were like, look, we can't wait for you to finish this. We got to finish the series. We got to wrap it up. So I think it's kind of interesting how they did that. But now I'm wondering how the ending would be different when George R.R. Martin finishes it. compared to like the actual TV series. A lot of people were pissed off with how it ended, and I get it, because it did feel kind of rushed. The last season felt more rushed than the other seasons. So I feel like it wasn't that it was a bad season, it just felt like everything was trying to wrap up so quickly that you couldn't really get involved into it as much as the other seasons. I think that's what it was. It wasn't that it was horrible or bad, it was just that it was like you could feel they were trying to wrap it up. Let's wrap this up, and let's wrap this up. But there's so many storylines and story arcs. That's the thing. Another thing about writing an ensemble cast, you gotta make sure you wrap everyone's storyline up. And if you don't, readers are gonna know. They're gonna be like, "Hey, you didn't wrap this up." I'll tell you an example. I've been watching a lot of Asian dramas, right? And one of the Chinese dramas I watched recently was Who Rules the World on Netflix, an Asian drama, a period drama, with magic and everything, because you guys know I write paranormal, so anything magic or paranormal or powers, I'm all for it, right? But there's one character arc with the brother, and the brother has seizures, right? And he has like all these things in episodes, and then when people find out he has seizures, he offs them because he doesn't want anybody to tell anybody he's weak and all these things. And they had this really strong story arc for him, and all of a sudden they just let it go. And I was like, well, what about his seizures? Like, I know we're getting to the couple, and the couple's the main couple, but there's side characters that you got to think about too. If you're going to introduce side character story arcs, you got to wrap them up. You have to give them completion. Otherwise, your reader's going to be like, what the heck? Unless you're going to do a spin-off story. That's a little different. If you're planning on doing a spin-off story where you tell their story and that's when you find out more about that character, that's different, because now you have a pathway to wrap up their story. But if you're not going to plan on a spin-off story for that character or side character or brother or friend or sister or cousin, whatever, then you need to wrap up their story in the main story. So this is another reason why I recommend that you guys start world Bibles for your stories, because you may forget, you may be so into the main character, you're like, oh, that's right, I forgot about the side character that I started telling a story about, and then I was like, I have to wrap that up. You may just forget. I mean, it's not uncommon. So if you have a world Bible, you know which character and story arcs that you should follow through and complete, so that way your reader's not left wanting, because they get really upset, and that's where some bad reviews come from, because they'll be like, you did not wrap up that story. You will never forget what they did to Danny. I know, right? I was like, that is insane. I'm like, how do you have the mother of dragons and then you end it that way? I feel like, I don't know. I feel like she should have survived. Even if her and Jon Snow didn't end up together completely, I feel like she still could have survived, because she was one of the main story arcs with Jon Snow. She definitely had a bigger story arc than some of the other characters. So I'm like, yeah, I was upset with that too. Hey Mercedes, how are you? Thank you for the follow, Sean. I appreciate it. So yeah, I was upset by that too. I was like, well, this kind of defeats the whole purpose that we followed her and female empowerment. But then it goes back to like, those societies being highly patriarchal, right? So if you look at that, if you look at it from the perspective of that most ancient societies were highly patriarchal and male-dominated, then actually the story ended the way it was supposed to end, even though we may not have liked it. Like, as a feminist, I'm kind of like, yeah, I kind of wanted some female empowerment. But Arya was good, too. I love her character arc, too. I also wish she had more of a storyline, because I was like, you left this girl, she's grown up into a woman all by herself, and then you kind of left her hanging, and I kind of feel like her story arc could have been a lot more stronger, too. I feel like they kind of just wrote her off in the end a little bit, but I don't know. That is my perspective. I know we all have different perspectives on it in Game of Thrones. We probably all have our own hate-love relationship with it because of things, but yeah, I mean, it shows you how larger ensemble cast arcs can go wrong or right, depending on how you see it. Some people love the ending. They were like, it's fine. I had no problems with it. Some people hate it. Some people are mediocre about it. But you never know. So you want to make sure you give your readers concrete endings and concrete story arcs that have endings to them, so they're not left with questions in the end. Again, unless you're creating another series or you're extending the series, and then we'll see them later on and you can wrap up in a further book. But if you're just planning on writing one book, you can't be having things lingering and just hanging off the edge, because it's going to annoy your reader and they're going to feel like it's left unfinished. But if you're planning a longer series or a series of books, whether it's the same couple or a different couple each time, you want to make sure you have different things that come back into play, so each previous story arc is still wrapped up. Grey Worm had the nice character development as well. I know. And it's always the nice ones that you're like, I know they're going to off you. I can tell they're going to off you. They're offing you. As soon as I found a nice character I liked, I was like, I have no hope for you. That's what I got used to in Game of Thrones. The characters you liked and loved, you're like, yeah, you're gonna end up on the end, at the end of the bottom of a ravine, or your head chopped off. I'm like, it's all about how you're gonna pass away in this movie now, or in the series. More so than are you gonna survive to the end. It's like, no, you're not surviving. I'm just hoping we keep you long enough so we can enjoy you and your character a little bit longer. It's so crazy. But you have John Backstabber in the way. I know, that was the hardcore one too. I'm like, I mean, I understand why, because first of all, they also did the same thing with stereotyping with this is the thing, if you guys know like histories and different mythologies, and this is why I say patriarchal society, if you think about patriarchal society and how history patriarchal society is, and storytelling is for patriarchal societies, it does follow the same canon, right? Of making the women kind of crazy or not really with it, and although they may be strong a bit, like, because she was a really strong character. Dany was a really strong character. I mean, she was queen of dragons, mother of dragons, right? But at the end, they made her, like, lose it completely, like, kind of with no explanation. Like, she did have reasoning because all these people around her were, you know, passing away and stuff. You get that. But I think they took it to an extreme by saying, oh, she's so crazy now, she's going to go and destroy everything and everyone. So now Jon Snow has to redeem it by taking her life. And you're like, really, though? I mean, is that really the extreme version you have to have when it comes to storytelling? So I think, like, I mean, and it is written by a male author, and again, I'm not denoting him being a male author or anything, but I'm just saying, if you're looking at the history, because it is a kind of like a mythological historical, right? So if you look at that, it does follow the traditional canon of, oh, the men will succeed and the women will kind of fall on the wayside and they won't be taken as serious, right? So I think in that sense, I guess it did follow the proper patriarchal canon of storytelling. Not saying it had to, but I'm just saying if you're looking at the ancient mythologies, ancient stories, even if you go into Greek mythology, different mythologies always show the men or the male characters coming on top and the women kind of being left behind, or, you know, being destroyed or being taken advantage of. And it sucks. It really sucks. That's why it's great to have women writers who are kind of retelling stories and giving more women empowerment and female empowerment. But if you're looking at the actual historical aspect of patriarchal societies, it follows the traditional canon of patriarchal societies. So in that sense, it did the story justice, but that's not saying it was a good way to end the story. It kind of still sucked. But yeah, so that's why I said when you guys are looking at stories, and this is why I said when I go to movies, I don't really see it as like watching a bad movie. I'm just seeking a different form of entertainment. I may not appreciate the story too well, or thought, oh, it wasn't the best story for me, but I see it as a different form of storytelling. I may not have been the audience for that movie, I may not have been the direct person they were trying to reach, but it's all about just seeing different stories and different story arcs and different storytelling experiences and adding them to your kind of idea bank so you can pull from them later on. So that's what I definitely think for sure. Can I explain the difference between a psychological thriller and a murder mystery book? Oh, that's a good question. Okay. So when it comes to... Now, here's the thing. I don't write these, so just note that you're probably going to find more definitions by going into groups that cater to your murder mystery kind of suspense. But in the name, let's go just by the name, right? So murder mystery is going to be mainly just focusing on, you know, who done it. Who did it? Who did the crime? Who did the murder? Who did whatever? And normally we're following the person solving the crime, like Sherlock Holmes, or, you know, if you go in the history of like the Hardy Boys kind of thing. Like those are like murder mysteries in a sense, right? Now we got more extreme murder mysteries where they can be more graphic and violent, right? More psychological thriller murder mystery kind of thing goes more into the psychology of not just the perpetrator, but sometimes the psychology of the person going through the actual solving of the crime. So like maybe the person solving the crime is so adamant to get the killer because they had their own traumas and their own mental issues that they had to deal with, and they're going through their own psychological traumas too. So it becomes a psychological thriller because it kind of becomes like a psychological game between the perpetrator and the person who's solving the crime. So almost like a cat and mouse game, but it's now on a mental level. So I think when it comes to a psychological thriller, it's not about the psychology of the reader or things like that. It's more about the psychological state of your main characters, your hero and your villain, or your protagonist and your antagonist, and how they interact with each other. Because you heard about, like, in murder mysteries when they're playing mind games with you, right? Now, in regular murder mysteries, like, the perpetrator can play mind games with the person solving the crime too, but it's more diabolical in psychological thrillers because they're really trying to mess with and destroy the person that's coming after them. It's almost like a severe cat and mouse game where I'm not just going to do these crimes, but I need to bring you down with me, and that'll make this much more sweeter and much more complete, if that makes sense. So it becomes psychological because it involves the main characters, both the villain and the protagonist, or the protagonist and the antagonist, in a psychological way where we're in their minds, we're seeing what they're doing, and they're kind of like after each other in a psychological way as well as a physical way, right? Hopefully that makes sense. So I think that's the difference between the two, is that one is more psychologically intense because we're in the minds of both the main character and the perpetrator, whereas a regular murder mystery, we may not even be in the minds of them. We may be in our relationships, we may be in things with them, but we're not really in the minds of things that could be depressing or destructive in a sense, if that makes sense. So, yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. And like I said, don't take my word for it. I recommend just going into your genres too, because like I said, I only go by the names and the types, what I've seen. I'm more of a psychological thriller movie watcher than I am a book reader, but if you look at how psychological thrillers are, it's more on the psychosis of both the main character and the perpetrator, or the person they're trying to go after, and it's kind of like a mind game between both of them. And even if it's not a mind game between both of them, they're both going through destructive psychological issues along the way. Even if the person, the perpetrator, doesn't know who's after them, and is not trying to destroy the main character, they are still both suffering from mental, I don't say not always mental health issues, but all mental struggles that pulls them through the storyline too. That's why I think it makes it more of a psychological thriller, because it's not just about the case being solved. It's about getting into the heads of these characters, whether it's the villain, whether it's the hero, or both. Definitely that's what makes it psychological for sure. And how the cases impact them, because that's going to make it worse or, more crazier and intense, because the more bodies they find, the more it's going to impact the hero, and the more the person goes after more and more people and destroys more people, the more they're going to feel vindicated or feel like they're doing, the best work possible, because to them, they're not taking someone's life. They're doing something for the greater good or for the good of themselves, right? This is why I said why your villain is always the hero of their own story, because although they may be doing these horrible crimes, to them it's not horrible. It's vindicated, or they have justice in mind, or they have righteousness in mind, or making the world right. This is why they choose certain victims, right? They choose certain victims, so they're like, oh, that's a bad person. If I get rid of them, it's going to make the world a better place. Although you're essentially, committing a crime by doing it, like they may feel justified in what they're doing and what they're going through. So hopefully that helps. So good question. That was a really good, deep question for sure. Okay, so let's get back to what I went off on a tangent, so I apologize, guys. Like I said, fiction assignment: complete the character worksheet for your protagonist and antagonist. All right. For nonfiction, you need to write a 200-word story of something you overcame to inspire the reader. So it can be something small, something big, but keep in mind you only have 200 words to do it in. So you're not going to be going into like the setup of what led to it. Go straight into the story of what challenge you went through, or what event you went through that kind of like shifted something in you, or shifted your mindset, or changed your perception of reality. Because when you're doing nonfiction, like I said, even if you're writing a memoir or writing self-help, you're still writing something that you're hoping will inspire the reader, or motivate the reader, or help the reader. So think about how this story can help your reader either take a certain action or feel a certain way, and that's going to help you create that segment of a story. All right. And then for you poetry writers, you're going to write a persona poem from the perspective of a fictional or historical character. So you need to make a fictional character. So you can make them up yourself, or you can go in history and kind of choose someone like, Cleopatra, or someone in history, or in, ancient times or something, and write a poem about that person. All three focuses on characterization. All right, so that's what the whole theme of this week is, about character building, character working, and character creation, so you can get to the heart and core of your characterization and your characters. That's going to be the core for your story too. All right, so for the discussion post, you guys are going to be doing this. You're going to introduce us to your protagonist if you're fiction, or yourself if you're nonfiction or poetry. And when I say that, not an intro like, hi, my name is so-and-so. I mean, you're diving into what you did this week to introduce yourself. So for example, if you're going to talk about your own personal connection, you're going to describe your personal connection as a protagonist would. You describe your poem as a protagonist would, right? So that's what I mean. You're introducing yourself to the reader and how you're posting for the discussion. You're taking on the persona of the character, whether it's you or someone you created or a fictional person you created. You're taking on that persona, all right? And then you're going to answer these questions. What are their greatest or your greatest strengths and flaws? All right, so you should know this because when you're creating a character, you do the character worksheet. You should know their flaws and know their strengths, all right? And then if it's you, talking about that memory or writing that poem should help you get to the heart of your fictional character if you're doing the poem, or the heart of you if you're doing, nonfiction, that nonfiction event. All right? And how do these traits shape their or your journey? So you're asking yourself, one, now they may have multiple flaws, all right? I want you guys to choose their greatest and their weakest flaws. So choose one for each. And then ask yourself, how does this shape their journey? Like, what trials do they have to go through to reach the end? How does this really challenge them or help them on their character journey? Now, of course, you guys haven't written the story yet, so you may not know this fully. But just think like through it. Think how some kind of strength or how kind of weakness could actually add to the story or hinder their story and hinder their journey or help their journey if you're looking at the hero's journey as a character arc for your story. All right. Same thing for poetry and nonfiction. If it's you or a fictional character, you're still looking at your strengths and weaknesses. In that scene you wrote, ask yourself, what was your greatest strength and your weakness in that scene that you wrote for nonfiction? What did it do to help you or hinder you in that scene that you wrote? That's what you're looking at and how you're answering the question. So now you see what I mean by this is the week we're going into how each assignment will go into the discussion and how I will see how you did the assignment based on your discussion post. Last week was more an intro post so you guys can get into the mindset of why am I here? Why do I want to write? What inspires me to write? That's why the first post was about your story inspiration. Starting this week, we go into actual assignment analysis and you getting to the depth, the deep processes of your assignments. So that's why now you can see as we go through each week how I'm saying this is going to help me see whether you're growing or getting deeper into your writing processes for your assignments without even having to read your assignment. Because now you're thinking deeper about each assignment and what you did by answering the discussion post in the Discord. So hopefully that helps for sure as you guys are doing your processes and things like that. Thank you for the likes, guys. I appreciate it. That helps the algorithm see that this is a good live. So I appreciate you guys liking and helping us get up there for the likes. All right. So now for the last part of class, what we're going to do is basically I'm going to show you how you can, again, utilize ChatGPT to help you with these in case you feel like you're stuck. Right? Like, how do I do a character arc or profile and things like that. So I'm going to show you how to, again, use it to give you examples. Not to do your assignment, but to give you examples. So I'm going to showcase you what a character profile looks like. Now, you should already know what a character profile looks like if you go into Discord and download that sample. Also, some of you probably also bought the extensive character workbook and world building workbook that came as an upgrade from you go joining the Storyteller Discord, right? So those of you who have that, you have an even longer aspect of using character profile because that book gives you more questions than the free resources in the Discord. So you got that, use that for your discussion and for your assignment this week because that's going to give you more information that you can use for your character profiles and your story and your world building and things like that. So I highly recommend using that to help you for the next couple of weeks when we go into character and for world building because that's going to give you a lot more to work on and to grow from when it comes to your assignments. All right. Okay. So now let's go into ChatGPT. And like last week, or like Sunday actually, I'm going to show you exactly how this works when it comes to helping you guys see how examples can help you find your own core writing. Okay, here we go. Alright, I gotta log back in. Hold on 1 second. I always keep it open because I use it so often for different random things, so log in. And then we're going to go back to the same. If you didn't see the replay from Sunday, that is up in the Discord now, so definitely watch that because we went over how you can use it to help you with other things. And that can give you a good starting ground for how you can use ChatGPT effectively as you guys are getting ready to complete your assignment. So just keep that in mind. Okay, awesome. So, I'm going to still use, well, let me do the voice still. Let's see. You're not gonna let me. Okay, that's fine. I'm going to start a brand new one. So I'm going to continue from last time, but it didn't let me, so we'll do a new one. Alright, so let's start with fiction first. So those of you with fiction, again, your assignment is to complete a character worksheet for your protagonist and antagonist. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give ChatGPT a sample character profile. Not a full profile, like I haven't done anything for the character yet, I haven't done any background information, but I'm going to give her kind of like a brief summary of a character, and I'm going to use general names. And this is what I recommend that you guys do too, especially if you're going to choose creative names for your characters and you want them to be unique and special. Don't give ChatGPT your names. Use general names just to help you create ideas and generate different things and different perspectives and storylines, so that way when you get to your stories, you're not putting any creative content in the actual ChatGPT or AI structure. That's what I recommend when you guys do your sample examples or ask for examples. Like, use like actual stereotypical names or really standard names that aren't really a big deal, so it's not really impacting the naming or structure. Or if you create a name for a city or a town or a universe or anything like that, don't use those names because you want to keep them. Again, I would not put them in AI because AI is such a new thing. I don't want you guys to put intellectual property in here that can hinder your publication and stuff like that in the future. So don't do that. Just use stereotypical things or standard names. Like if you're doing a big city, use New York. If you're doing a small town, do like, I don't know, like I'm from Virginia, so you say something like Alexandria, Virginia, or something like that. Although it's not like super small town, but you could do something like that to kind of negate what, not negate, but use it as placeholders for what you're trying to create. Hopefully that helps you guys. Alright? Alright, so let's start. I'll make this louder so you guys can hear it. Good afternoon, Amazonia. How are you today?
Good afternoon. I'm doing well, thank you. How about you?
I'm doing pretty good. I need your help today with a few exercises I'm trying to do, and I would like to have some examples to help me kickstart my own assignments. Can you help me with that?
Of course. What kind of exercises are you working on?
Okay, the first thing I need to do is create a character profile for my protagonist character. I'm going to give you a brief summary of who the character is, and if you could help me kind of come up with a background profile for him, that would be great. So my character's name is John, Jon, and he is a very strong male character with very heroic personality traits. But he has some flaws, such as doubting his own strength, feeling like an outcast in his family, and wanting to do good by saving the world and saving the people he loves. Can you help me come up with a character profile for this character?
Absolutely. Here's a character profile for John. Name, John. Age, 32. Appearance, Tall, athletic build with dark hair and piercing blue eyes. Personality: heroic, brave and determined, but struggles with self-doubt and feeling like an outsider in his family. Backstory: John grew up feeling overshadowed by his siblings, who were always more accomplished in the eyes of his parents. This led him to doubt his own strength and abilities. Despite this, he has a strong desire to protect those he loves and make a difference in the world. Motivation: to prove his worth and protect his loved ones from harm. Flaws: self-doubt, feeling like an outcast and sometimes being overly hard on himself. Strengths: courageous, loyal and always willing to sacrifice for the greater good. Does this help you get started?
That really does. And now could you kind of help me flesh out this profile a little bit more? I want to kind of think about the enemies and allies and the psychology behind John's actions and motivations in the story. Could you help me flesh out his character profile a little more using these attributes, please?
Certainly. Let's expand John's profile. Enemies: primary antagonist, a powerful figure or organization that threatens the world John wants to save. This enemy exploits John's self-doubt and tries to isolate him from his allies. Personal rival: someone from John's past, possibly a sibling or former friend, who embodies everything John feels he isn't. This character constantly challenges John's beliefs about himself. Allies: mentor father figure, a wise older character who believes in John and helps him recognize his strengths. Loyal friend, a peer who stands by John through thick and thin, offering emotional support and practical help. Love interest, someone who sees the good in John and helps him accept and embrace his flaws. Psychology: John's actions are driven by a deep-seated need to prove himself and protect others, stemming from his feelings of inadequacy and his desire to belong. Motivations: he is motivated by a strong moral compass and a desire to make a positive impact. Internal conflict: John constantly battles between his self-doubt and his heroic nature, leading to moments of vulnerability and growth throughout the story. Does this help in fleshing out John's character?
Okay, so I want you guys to see what she's doing here. I think it's kind of interesting because this is what I always tell my students when they're brainstorming. Because one of the assignments we have them do is to compare their natural outline to the outline that ChatGPT will give them, right? Now, here's the thing. ChatGPT will always be more extensive and more detailed than you probably will be in your outline. So don't feel like when you're doing your character profile, all of your character profile answers have to have full, complete sentences and a flesh out kind of composition for all of the answers. No. Instead, you can do like little abbreviations, just like a group of sentences, a list. It can be whatever you need to flesh out that sentence or that moment or that answer. So you notice that she was giving us full sentences, full paragraphs to answer each component that I asked her for. That is not something you have to do or feel obliged to do for any question in the character profile. Instead, this kind of helps us get ideas for our own character profile. Notice what she's doing. She's giving us the psychological structure, the enemies, the allies. She even gave us an idea for things like notice she says like one of the allies is a strong older male figure that's kind of like a wise old man, right? If you guys know, again, the hero's journey, there's always usually an older, experienced character that the main character depends on for advice and for feedback so they can know if they're doing the right thing or making the right decisions and kind of have guidance, right? It's kind of a canonical character in the hero's journey. So if that's the case, that gives us an idea of whether it's an old sage that helps John or helps him like move forward and helps him kind of accomplish his task, or it can just be like an old companion, an uncle. It doesn't necessarily have to be like an actual like wise old man. It doesn't have to be like a person with a gray beard kind of thing. It can just be a person that's 5 or 10 years older than the person, but notice how in society we see older as experience, as wisdom, right? So someone older than him has more experience than him, has more knowledge than him, can give him feedback and advice and help him understand the things he's going through, right? And it doesn't necessarily have to be a male either. It could be a wise old woman or his grandma or his aunt or, his next door neighbor. It really depends on who you want and how you want to flesh out the character. But by her giving us these ideas, we can kind of see a kind of structure for where we want our character to go, whether it's our protagonist or antagonist. So that's why I'm having her do this. Not that I'm going with everything that she's giving me, but it's helping me come up with ideas for my own character so I can say, oh, it'd be cool to have a wise older person to give him advice, or it'd be cool to have a best friend who's like there and making sure he's staying on track and giving him, motivation along the way. And it'd be good to have an evil person who has to fight. Now, notice how it said the evil person is either an evil person or an evil organization. It didn't choose one. It gave us a kind of like a choice of ideas. We can choose just one villain, or we can choose a whole evil organization that he has to fight or battle. It can be up to you. So this kind of helps you kind of stem like, oh, it doesn't have to be one bad character. It can be a whole bunch of bad characters that he or she has to fight. And that can really kind of set the path up for how your story arc is going to be structured and what their end goal is. Because if it's a whole organization, what is it with the organization? Did they, steal his sibling and now they have to go rescue his sibling? Did they taint the world and have to go and find a solution or an antidote to like solve the crisis of the world? Like, what is it now that's an organization and not just one person they're battling, but a whole societal structure? That changes the course and the path of your main character and what their end goal is. So keep in mind, all of these things that we're hearing are meant to give us ideas for our own story and not just like do it for us. It's giving us a canon bank to pull from, so now we can utilize it to help us write our own stories. So that's what I want you guys to see, and hopefully you've gotten that and saw how that was done. So now let's move on to you guys who are doing your nonfiction. All right. That is perfect, Amazonia. That really gives me ideas for this character and how I can flesh him or her out. So now, can you do me a favor and actually do a character profile for the antagonist? And you actually gave me a good idea. I want to use a bad society that is the antagonist for John. So could you help me flesh out the character profile for this evil society that he has to fight against?
Absolutely. Here's a detailed profile for the evil society. Name, the Shadow Dominion. Purpose, goals, to gain control over the world by exploiting its resources and manipulating its inhabitants. They aim to create a world where they hold absolute power and control. Key members, the Overlord, the enigmatic and ruthless leader who masterminds the society's actions. Their identity is shrouded in mystery, making them a constant looming threat. The Enforcers, a group of elite operatives who carry out the Overlord's orders, skilled in combat and espionage. Methods, manipulation. They manipulate people's fears and desires to gain power and control. Espionage. Using spies and infiltrators, they gather intel and sabotage efforts to oppose them. Propaganda. They spread misinformation to create distrust and weaken resistance. Psychology. Motivations. The society is driven by a lust for power and a belief in their superiority. They see themselves as the rightful rulers of the world. Actions. They employ fear, coercion, and deception to achieve their goals, often targeting John's weaknesses to undermine him. Symbol, a shadowy emblem representing their pervasive influence and control. Weaknesses, overconfidence. Their belief in their invincibility can lead to underestimating John and his allies. Internal strife, ambition and power struggles within the society can create cracks in their unity. Does this give you a good starting point for the antagonist?
All right, so look what's cool about that is the fact that the way that she set up the antagonist organization, it could be anything in the past or in the present. Although they use like espionage and all these things, all she uses those terms, it could still be an ancient society issue. It can be a modern society or a futuristic society. She doesn't give us information that kind of dictates where this takes place. So now we can kind of figure out whether we want our story to be present or in the future or in the past, or kind of a mythological past like Game of Thrones, right? We decide on what we do for sure. Hey Afro Reggae, how are you? So keep in mind, that can really help you with your storytelling experience and help you kind of see the whole structure. Now, she gave us some information I think is really interesting if you guys caught it. Notice what she said. She said that inside this organization, they could also have issues. They can have issues that tears the inside down from the inside out. So think about that. So there's a master overlord in charge here, and he has, enforcers or people who runs around and does his bidding. One of those people may get upset, like, I'm getting sick of following the overlord's orders. Maybe we should do something from the inside out. So now you have this internal, remember I said, not everything's always perfect on the other side. Same thing for evil. Evil is not always 100% evil or 100% perfect. So that that can also mean that the structure of the organization is not perfect, not just the characterization. So that can really give you dimensions for your structure, so you're not just creating a 100% evil organization that all they do is, destroy people and take advantage of people. It can kind of enhance people and help that, right? So exactly, dimensions. So you want dimensions to both your protagonist and your antagonist, because that's going to help you layer your storytelling experience and help you create the strongest characters possible. So hopefully that's what you guys are getting from this, and that's what you're understanding from this whole experience of seeing how we did the protagonist first and the antagonist. And I intentionally made the organization because I wanted to see how she was going to do in organizational structure versus a person, since we have a person in our protagonist. What happens if you make the antagonist, the air or an earthquake or aliens or, any kind of thing that could be something else other than just one individual, right? It can really give you a lot of layers to your writing and to your creation. So keep that in mind. All right. So hopefully you guys are liking this. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for the follows. I appreciate it so much. So now that we did our fiction and our fiction component for our protagonist and antagonist, now let's go into our nonfiction when you guys are doing your 200-word summary of whatever you're creating, right? Now, as I mentioned, I'll go back over it again. You're creating a 200-word story of something you overcame to inspire the reader. So I'm going to give her a sample issue to help me write out. I'm just going to make this up on the top of my head and kind of tell her the inspiration I want from this scene. So I want her to help me flesh it out so I can see the whole purpose of what I'm doing, my own characterization, because again, when you guys are writing nonfiction, you can be too close to it to see how important it is to your reader or what your whole purpose is in telling that story, so they can get the goals or get the concepts or get the things that they're supposed to learn from your events or your actions, so they can learn from your own experiences. So that's something I'm going to show you for sure. Hey Shanice, how are you? It's good to see you. Let's see. Grip Max gives you the perfect angle and okay. I am going to block that one. Okay. And delete. Please don't click on that. I don't know what that is, but I'm going to go ahead and mute too. Cool. All right. I don't mind when you guys come in here and promote your books, but when you promote something weird, and I don't know, and like it could be a weird link or something, I'm not having you guys clicking into weird links like that. So if you guys want to promote your books, it's different. But anyone else coming in here and promoting weird stuff, we're not having that. This is an educational place. It's meant to be a reading, writing space. That is it. So hopefully that is done. Okay. So now let's go into the nonfiction aspects. All right. That was perfect, Amazon AM. So now I need you to help me with a nonfiction exercise. Can you do that, please?
Of course. What kind of nonfiction exercise are you working on?
I need to write a 200-word event of a life event that I experienced that kind of challenged me and helped me see something I was able to overcome and accomplish in my life. Now, I'm trying to use two different events. I want to either use an event where I, was able to overcome the challenge of a hard assignment as a student in grad school, and how the teacher was very aggressive and very combative, and how I was able to overcome doing well in this professor's class. And then I also want to think about doing another one where I was sick in the hospital for a while and was almost on my deathbed, but I was able to overcome that physical moment. Now, these are meant to be short moments, 200 words each. Could you help me flesh out what I could possibly do with both of these stories?
Here are some ideas to flesh out each event. 1. Overcoming a difficult assignment in grad school. Focus on the emotional and mental journey. Describe the initial intimidation and how you felt facing an aggressive professor. Highlight the turning point where you decided to push through, the strategies you used to succeed, and the sense of accomplishment you felt afterward. Emphasize personal growth and the lesson learned about resilience. 2. Surviving a severe illness. Begin with the moment you realized the severity of your condition. Describe the physical and emotional challenges you faced in the hospital. Focus on the moment of hope or determination that helped you pull through. End with the sense of gratitude and the newfound perspective on life that the experience gave you. Which one would you like to develop further?
All right, now what I didn't tell you guys were these were real actual things that happened to me. I experienced an actual event in college where I had to overcome an aggressive professor that I really did not like. It was a very kind of challenging time for me. I also was hospitalized in like my first semester of grad school, where I really almost died. If I hadn't gone to the hospital, I would have literally died. They told me that. And it was the worst pain I ever experienced in my life. I was diagnosed with diverticulitis, and I never wish that on anyone. And I was in the hospital for 13 days because I was in there, and my mom was with me the whole time. By the way, she was another reason why I loved my mom, and I was so sad when she passed, because she was there with me for every moment that I needed that support, right? So notice what happened though. I just wanted to mention that because I was like, you guys probably like, why did you come up with those two stories? Because those were two things that actually happened to me in my life. So that's why I was like, let me see how we could possibly do this. So I did that though, but notice what she did. She didn't write it for me. She didn't create it for me. She didn't do these things for me, but she created content to kind of help me see what my personal struggles would have been, to kind of help me see the vivid imagery I can use for each story or each event, and help me pull out each one. Right? So instead of saying, here's how you could write this happened on this day, and this is the dialogue. She doesn't know what happened to me because I just told her a brief summary of each event. So what she can do is tell me how to grip that story well and tell it in the best way possible in those 200 words. So again, 200 words. Don't add any filler to it, because all you're doing is focusing on that one moment. So it needs to be the most powerful moment. So I'm doing the hospital moment. Maybe it's that one moment in the hospital when I was like, and there was a moment in the hospital I was like, oh my gosh, am I going to die? I mean, I remember asking my mom, I was like, is this it? Am I going to die? Am I really dying right now? And my mom came to me and hugged me. She's like, you're not dying. You're not dying. She was crying too. It was an emotional moment. But that was so an emotional moment that I could probably write that moment. And if I'm writing it and telling you it, you know I survived because I'm writing the story, right? So now it's about how I overcame that moment of thinking that I was going to die in that moment, and how I overcame that powerful moment, and what purpose I have in telling my reader. Because it's not just about me. When you're writing nonfiction, it's about your reader. What do you want your reader to get out of your book so they can say, hey, I've gone through challenging times like this myself. Maybe I'm going through it right now. It seems like it's hopeless. I have no way out. I feel like I have no solutions. What can I learn from this story that this writer is telling me so I can see that it's okay? It's going to be okay. Right? Because a lot of times the things we worry about, the things we're scared about, we end up realizing they're not worth worrying about in the first place, right? All worrying does is just make it worse, right? It doesn't really help the problem or solve the issues. So maybe that's the issue, is that worrying about the now is not going to help you. What are the solutions that we can do to make sure that we can do the best things we possibly can to get out of the situation that we're in? Right? Maybe that's the moral of the story, right? For the teacher, maybe the issue is that you're not going to always love everyone you come in contact with. You're not always going to be able to get along with everyone you come in contact with. But how do you persevere through that moment of antagonistic opposition so you can get through it right now? Because when you have a teacher, you only have them for a semester in college, right? You don't have them for a whole year. You don't have them for your life, unless you have the negative, the negative kind of thing of having them for the entire time, because they're one of the few professors that teach in your program, and I hope you guys never have to experience that. But thankfully I only had the teacher one time, so it wasn't like a bad thing. But when you have someone like that who's going to be like a negative influence for you, how do you get past it? How do you overcome it when you're constantly having this aggression coming at you, right? So the whole thing is about trying to find out what your reader should get from your experience. Not just what you learned. You can definitely talk about what you learned and what you got out of it. But don't forget, it isn't about you. And I'm not trying to say this to blow your bubble or burst your bubble or make you guys feel like, oh my gosh, it's not about you. Get over yourself. No, I want you to see that if you're writing nonfiction, you're writing because you have a purpose for it, right? You have a purpose for helping other people. So if you have a purpose for helping other people, you have to always remember each thing you go through needs to have something that you're trying to teach or enhance the reader's experience so they can get something from that moment. Because they're not just reading it for fun, right? Yes, they can read it for pleasure too, but they're reading it because they're hoping to get something or learn something or take something of value from it that they can apply to their own life. And that's what's great about nonfiction. So when you guys are approaching your nonfiction, ask yourself, what is the purpose of this story? What am I trying to get across to my readers so they can learn from this event? So if they go through something similar or something else is hard and kind of seems like it's impossible to get through, how do they get through it so they can come out it on the other side victorious, right? That's what you should definitely think about for sure. Hey, bug-eyed nerd, how are you? Hey, in your beginning, how are you? Thank you, Ginger. I appreciate that. Yeah, exactly. And yeah, those of you who are listening, I'm using ChatGPT, but I'm using the voice activation feature. So ChatGPT has a voice feature where you can actually talk to it and make it whoever you want. I have a British lady because I thought it was cool to have a British lady. Now, if you overuse it, sometimes you guys will hear her voice will change to a regular voice. It's because I overused the British lady feature and then it went back to regular voice. So that's what will happen if you guys hear it for sure. Yeah, it's really cool app, right? All right. And yeah, I'm so glad I had my mom's support. She was amazing. Like, I really hope in my life I can be as good of a person as she was, because she really emulated not just a good mother, but a good person. So if I can be half the person she was, I will consider myself a good person for sure. Let's see. I know, right? It's fancy, right? You can make it a male, you can make it a female, you can make it like I said, you can have different accents. I think they have an Indian accent. I don't know if they have like an African or Caribbean accent. I don't remember seeing that as a choice, but they have different accents that you can choose, different genders that you can choose. They may be expanding those later. They didn't have that many, but you can definitely try it for sure. After you finish your semester, you kept bugging your favorite teacher. They probably, if they were your favorite teacher, they probably didn't mind. They're probably like, oh, here that person comes again. But I can tell you, as an educator, I love when my students come back to me, even if they hound me a little bit. I have some students who you can tell they're an A student, because when they get something less than an A, they're like, what do I do? How do I make this an A? I'm like, look, you're going to do well in class. Don't worry. You got 1B. Don't worry about it. It's probably not going to affect your grade where you're going to lose that A. But you can tell they have the A mindset where it's like, I must get an A in class. And you're like, oh my goodness. And then some of those students come back to me later on. I'm like, I remember you because you wanted that A so badly. It was like an intense kind of like thing. So yeah. So thank you guys for sharing the live. Thank you for liking it. And thank you for the gifts too. I appreciate it. So hopefully that showed you guys how, like I said, ChatGPT is more of a tool than an actual writer. It's not meant to write the stories for you, and I don't want it to. Those are my experiences. I don't want it to write it out for me. It doesn't know what I went through. It doesn't know what I experienced. So having that kind of helps. Same thing with your characterization. It gave me great ideas for character profiles, but I probably won't use all of that. I just want to have a bank to pull from so I can be like, oh, that's kind of cool. What if I ran with that and used this and then made it my own and kind of put my own perspective, my own unique twist on it? That's the whole purpose of using ChatGPT. So if I can get that through you guys, I will consider my job done in teaching you how to use AI ethically and properly so it can help you on your writer experience. All right. So, okay, let's do the last one and then we'll wrap up, guys. So let's do the poetry one. So write a persona poem from a perspective of a fictional or historical character. So this is such a wide berth. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give her a choice of two different characters. I'm going to give her a fictional character that I created from my own mind, and I'm going to give her a historical character. We mentioned Cleopatra earlier. Let's use Cleopatra, right? So instead of, again, having her write the poems for us, I want her to kind of give us ideas on how we can write the persona poem, right? Thanks, Pep Talk, for the gifts. I appreciate it. So just note how we're doing it. We're not asking her to write it. We're asking her to help us with idea content so we can do the writing ourselves. And that's what's important. All right? So let's do that. Okay, great. That really does help me think about how I can create those nonfiction exercises. Thank you. So now, since we're done with that, can you help me with a poetry exercise as well?
Of course. What kind of poetry exercise are you thinking about?
I am supposed to write a persona poem from the perspective of a fictional and historical character. And I actually want to give you two. I want to give you a fictional character that I want to create a story about or a poem about. And I want to give you a historical character that I'm thinking about creating a poem about. The fictional character is a woman in her 40s who is trying to find her purpose in life and is trying to understand how to get through the trials of modern day times and technology to be able to find her own purpose. The second poem is about Cleopatra, and rather than focusing on the issues and trials of her relationships, I want to focus on the persona poem getting to the heart of her character, of why she feels she needs to have these romantic entanglements with Mark Antony and Julius Caesar in order to get her own ambitions and fulfill her own needs for taking over the world. So can you help me come up with ideas for those two types of poems, please?
Great. Here are some ideas for each poem. Fictional character. Theme. Explore themes of self-discovery and resilience. The woman can reflect on her past experiences, comparing them to her present struggles with technology and modern life. Perspective. Write from her point of view, capturing her introspection, hopes, and fears. Show her journey from confusion to clarity, and how she embraces her purpose. Imagery. Use vivid imagery to depict her inner world and the external challenges she faces. Incorporate elements of technology as metaphors for her journey. Ambition. Focus on ambition, power, and the complexities of her character. Explore the motivations for her romantic entanglements as strategic moves rather than mere love affairs. Perspective. Write in Cleopatra's voice, capturing her regal, determined, and cunning nature. Showcase her internal monologue and the rationale behind her actions. Imagery. Use rich, historical imagery to evoke the grandeur and stakes of her world. Metaphors can highlight her strategic mind and the delicate balance she maintains between love and power. Would you like to dive deeper into either of these?
All right, so I could dive deeper. I'm not going to, but you could notice with everything that I give her, she's always asking an additional extension question, and you guys can definitely follow through. For the sake of time, we don't have time to follow through with each follow-up question, but every time you give her a question and she answers, she will always say, do you want to follow through with this, or do you want to see how we can do this? Do you want to see how we can enhance this, or do you want to choose one to follow through with? And you can. If you're like, hey, I want to go with Cleopatra. No, I want to go with a 40-year-old woman persona. Let's go with that one and see what we can do with that one. She can take you as far as you want to go. And you can have her write for you to see what it would look like. And that could be an example poem. But I will tell you right now, she will not write a poem as strong as you can write. I promise you. But you can definitely have her write one so you can see what it could possibly look like. See if it can inspire you to write your own poem. But please, for all that is wholly in AI, do not just copy any of that and use it as your own, because it's going to take away from your own creative and learning experience. Rather than like being like, hey, I'm going to create this poem, but I'm going to use this as a jump off point. It's completely different than saying, I'm just going to copy and paste this and that's going to be that. Then what's the point of you learning how to write? Because I want you guys to learn how to go through the challenges, go through the strengths, go through the wins, and you're not going to be able to have that successful win if you just let AI do everything for you. That's why I'm showing you how to use it as a side tool to help you when you get stuck, to help you when you need ideas to pull from, but not to do it for you. And if you guys can learn that, that'll help you on this journey as far as not just this class, but writing in the future too. So that way you're not dependent on it. You're not using it as a crutch. You're just using it as an idea bank to pull from when you really need to, and it can help you, right? Well, chat, that was good. I know, right? That was a good response. She goes deep, and that's what I love about this too. When you do, now keep in mind the text version is just as powerful. I use the voice version so you guys can hear it directly. And rather than me doing the text version and having to read it back to you and just read all the content, you can hear her talk to me and we have a conversation back and forth. You do the same thing in the text version, but you're just not hearing a voice read back to you. But I do this on live because I want you guys to hear the voice read back to me and how she interacts with me and how she responds to how I ask questions and how I probe deeper. You can't really see that if I just read the text from you. So I'd rather you guys hear the voice exchange. So you can choose the voice exchange too, but just know it may be limited in how many times you use it per day. You may have more to use it. And by the way, I do have the premium version of ChatGPT too. So I'm not sure if you can get the voice version on the free version. So just be aware of that. It's $20 a month. And I think it's $20 a month well spent because I use it so often that it's like, it helps me kind of with other things, not just with like back end office author things. It helps me come up with ideas for other strategies, other business things, other analytical things my brain, my creative brain can't process. It really helps me work through things and other things that I need help with. I found that it's also more beneficial than Google sometimes, but I will tell you, it even lets you know in small footnotes that it's not always accurate. So if you're asking it for advice, asking it for actual information, make sure you double check that information that it gives you to make sure it's accurate. I don't want you guys to say, oh, that's great, I'll put that in a story. And then someone comes back to you and leaves you a review and say, that's not how you do that. I'm a pro at this and I know better, and what you said is not accurate. So just make sure if it's actual statistical information or factual information, you double and triple check it outside of ChatGPT, so you make sure you get the right information that's going to help enhance your writing rather than detract from it or have somebody come and like battle you over it, because that's the last thing I want you guys from your writing, for sure. So hopefully that helped you guys with your writing and with your aspects. And like I said, I could go through with it more, but I'm going to leave it there because there's so much more that we could be doing, and we're going to do more on Sunday too. But let me know if you guys have any questions over what we went over today. Do you have any, you're stuck with anything and you have any questions that's going to help you or need answers to help you go through? Hopefully all of you who are here, you join the Discord. You can click my bio up there in the corner if you want to be a part of the class. And the first link in the bio is going to be the Beacons link with my name. Click that link and choose Storytellers Tea Room. That is a Discord server we are on. So if you want to be a part of this class, want to be a part of this experience, or just be a part of the Discord as a writer, period, and because it's a strong writing community that's growing each and every day, you can definitely join. It's free to join. When you check out, though, it will give you an upsell for the workbook, the world building and character workbook. You don't have to buy that. It is an upsell. That's optional. Definitely can help you, but it is optional. So it's a free community. So just check out without clicking that if you don't want to upsell, and that'll definitely help you on your writer journey for sure. Oh yeah, so click my face in the corner. When you click that, you'll go to my profile. The first link in the bio is going to be the one you're going to need. Now make sure when you click it though, make sure you open it in an open browser on your phone, because I think when you do it in the TikTok browser, it's not as effective. So open it in a new browser on your phone, or the internet browser on your phone, and then join that way. And then you'll be able to get in for sure. So that is the link for sure. Hey Lunatica, did you ask a question and I missed? How are you? It's good to see you. I may have missed it on my chatty, well, with my ChatGPT and my own chattingness. So let me know if you guys asked a question and I missed it. I try to go through. I was trying to be on top of it today. Some of you guys know I'll take a while to get to your questions. So if I missed it, let me know. Let's see. Going back through just in case. The info on Discord. Yeah, so all the information is on Discord. Good question. So anything on the syllabus is on Discord. So when you guys join the Discord, go into a novel story writing 101. You'll see the Discord, and make sure you expand the channels. There are a lot of channels in that Discord, so you need to make sure you expand it so you can see all of them. So make sure you expand the channels so you can see all the channels, and go to novel story writing 101, and you'll see the syllabus. You'll see the first week's discussion post, and I just posted the second week discussion post in there too. So all that's in there. You'll be good to go for sure. So you're very welcome. You're very welcome. And you're all welcome to join. Like I said, this class is free. That community is free. I'm doing this because I want you guys to get the jump start you need on writing your first chapter and getting your book done this year. Because saying you want to be a writer, saying you want to write a book, it's one thing. Actually doing it is another. So I want you guys to get the energy you need, the motivation you need to get that book done this year. Because all of you are here for a reason. You're here to write. Right? So if you're here to write, I want you to actually take advantage of the information you're learning and getting from me so you can actually jumpstart your writing career, whether it's for hobby, whether it's an actual full-time career you want to do. I want you guys to be able to do that and find what you need and the resources you need to be able to do that effectively and well. So hopefully you guys learned a lot, and my headband's coming off. It's like, I guess it's time to go. It's like, you need to go. So if you guys don't have any other questions, I'm going to head out. I will be on again tomorrow. I'm not sure if it's going to be tomorrow afternoon or evening, but I'll let you know in the Discord. That's another thing. If you're not sure when I'm going to be live, I will update you guys in the Discord when I'm going live from now on, so you guys can be sure when I'm going live. So I'll let you know when I'm going live tomorrow. I will be live tomorrow for sure. And maybe afternoon, because I forgot tomorrow evening I have a few meetings, or maybe late tomorrow. So I will let you know when I get more headspace on it. But either way, I will be going live the rest of this week too, so you'll see me. Usually on the weekends, I go live in the evenings, so I'll probably be live Friday night and Saturday night. And then Sunday, we have our next class at 4 p.m. So Wednesdays at 3, usually at 3. I came on kind of late today because I had a lot of stuff to do. But it's usually going to be Wednesdays around 3, and then Sundays 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All the times I give you guys are Eastern Standard Time. I'm here in Florida, so they're always EST times, so you guys can know what time, and you can be aware of it for sure. You're very welcome. You're very welcome, Wendy. I'm glad you came on. again. No worries. You're good, Wendy. You're good. I'm all good with that. Thank you for coming. I'm sorry I missed you coming on, but I appreciate you being here. It's always good seeing you, Wendy. And Not a Burner, it's always good to see you. Lenatica, glad you came too. It's glad to see all of you in here for sure. And let's see, where did you go? Afro, hopefully you can join the community too. It'd be good to have you. So hopefully you got some good information from here. It was good having all of you on here. So I will see you guys in the next live. Good luck with your assignments. Good luck with your discussion posts. I showed you guys how to get inspiration for the assignments. So no not doing it. All right, do it. And then like I said, when I come on here, even though we're not having class the rest of this week, if you come on and you have questions about it, you have issues that you're having with the assignments, let me know. I'm happy to answer them as we go for sure. So you guys have a great rest of your Wednesday. I will see you tomorrow, and have a good rest of your week too. Take care, everybody. Bye. And thank you for the likes and follows, guys. I appreciate you guys so much. And the gifts. You guys are so amazing. I appreciate you guys so much. You're so amazing. Have a good day, guys. Bye.